In a striking display of agreement, the Supreme Court just handed down two unanimous 9-0 rulings. These decisions have sent ripples through the legal community. One case centered on a man who was mistakenly deported to a dangerous prison in El Salvador. The other involved a dramatic trademark dispute between companies with identical names. Both cases pushed the justices to examine the boundaries of government authority and corporate duty. The impact of these rulings reaches into the lives of families, small businesses, and the very structure of our government. The message from the court was clear. When the government makes a serious mistake, it has a responsibility to correct it, even if that means crossing borders. And in the business world, companies aren't on the hook for what their affiliates do unless the law specifically requires it. Tonight, we'll unpack what happened, why it's important, and how it could affect your rights. These aren't just court cases, they're stories about justice, accountability, and the way America works. Picture this. You wake up to the devastating news that someone you love has been deported, not to safety, but to a notorious foreign prison infamous for its brutal conditions and overcrowding. In an instant, your world is turned upside down. Now imagine this nightmare wasn't caused by any wrongdoing but by a simple government blunder, a paperwork slip-up with life-altering consequences. That's exactly what happened to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a longtime resident of Maryland. Without warning, he was shipped thousands of miles away to El Salvador's Seco prison, one of the region's harshest lockups, all because of a clerical mistake. The US government quickly admitted its error, conceding that Mr. Abrego Garcia should never have been deported. But even after this confession, he remained trapped in a foreign cell, cut off from his family and the life he knew. His lawyers leapt into action, arguing that the government couldn't just shrug off its mistake. They demanded that officials take responsibility and do everything possible to bring Mr. Abrego Garcia home. The case raced up the legal ladder, raising a question that affects us all. When the government wrongfully deports someone, what must it do to make things right? Is it allowed to simply walk away from its own errors? The Supreme Court stepped in, recognizing the case's significance. In a rare unanimous 9-0 decision, the justices ordered the government to take real steps to bring Mr. Abrego Garcia back to the US. This historic ruling sent a clear message. The government can't turn a blind eye to its own mistakes, even when those errors cross borders and upend lives. The justices agreed, this wasn't just about one man, it was about fairness, the rule of law, and the core belief that even the government must answer for its actions. While the court didn't set a strict deadline for Mr. Abrego Garcia's return, it made one thing clear. The duty to fix this mistake lies with the government, underscoring the need for accountability at every level. For Mr. Abrego Garcia's family, the Supreme Court's decision was more than a legal victory. It was a beacon of hope, a step toward justice, and a powerful reminder that ordinary people can demand accountability from their government when it matters most. In a rare move, the government openly admitted it had made a serious mistake, a moment of honesty that didn't last long before the story took another dramatic turn. Suddenly, officials accused Mr. Abrego Garcia of being linked to a dangerous gang, a claim his attorney fiercely rejected as completely groundless. This new allegation only made the legal situation more tangled and confusing. The government's approach, admitting fault while launching fresh accusations, turned the case into a legal maze. The courtroom quickly became a stage for clashing stories and high-stakes legal maneuvers. Fed up with the government's delays and lack of clear answers, Judge Paula Zinnes made a bold move. She demanded daily updates on efforts to return Mr. Abrego Garcia, insisting on transparency and responsibility. The Justice Department fired back, arguing that the judge was stepping beyond her authority and interfering with the president's control over foreign affairs. They insisted her order crossed a constitutional line. According to the government, courts could point out legal errors, but they shouldn't dictate the details of diplomatic talks or control the pace of international negotiations. This sparked a classic showdown over the separation of powers, judicial oversight versus executive authority, a constitutional tug-of-war with big consequences. The Supreme Court now faced a tough question: how to hold the government accountable without overstepping into presidential territory, a delicate balance of power. The case became a crucial test of how far courts can go to correct government mistakes while still honoring the limits of executive power. At the heart of this legal drama was the struggle between fixing errors and respecting executive authority, a conflict that gripped the nation and legal experts alike. In the end, the justices had to decide where to draw the line between judicial remedies and executive discretion, a ruling that would shape future battles over the separation of powers. At the heart of this legal showdown lies a family's unwavering fight. Mr. Abrego Garcia's wife, an American citizen, stepped up as a fierce advocate, determined that his story wouldn't fade away. She teamed up with attorneys, spoke out to the press, and kept the spotlight on their case. Her relentless efforts transformed a government blunder into a powerful tale of perseverance. The Supreme Court's ruling marked a major win, but the struggle isn't finished. There's still no promise of when he'll be allowed home. Their persistence highlights the real-life toll of bureaucratic mistakes. Their journey now stands as a rallying cry for accountability. It proves that everyday people can demand justice, and sometimes the system actually responds. The Supreme Court's decision in the Abrego Garcia case is a masterclass in balancing the branches of government. The justices made it clear, the courts can demand action, but they won't dictate every move the executive branch makes in foreign affairs. The court told the government to fix the problem, but left the details, the timing, and the method up to the executive. This approach honors the president's lead in international matters while still demanding accountability. The courts can insist on justice, but they step back and let diplomats do their jobs. In this way, the ruling reigns in executive power, without sparking a constitutional showdown. The message is clear: foreign policy can't be used as an excuse for government missteps. Even when mistakes happen across borders, the responsibility to set things right doesn't disappear. This decision upholds the rule of law and keeps the separation of powers strong. In another high-stakes case, the Supreme Court made waves with a unanimous decision, this time shaking up the world of business and trademarks. The dispute? Dewberry Engineers, a well-known firm, took Dewberry Group, a real estate company, to court for using the same name. Lower courts sided with Dewberry Engineers, awarding them damages not just from Dewberry Group, but from all its related companies. This ruling sent shockwaves through the business world, hinting that one company's legal misstep could put an entire corporate family at risk. Today's corporations are intricate webs, filled with subsidiaries and affiliates. The lower court's approach left big companies facing a cloud of uncertainty and potential danger. The Supreme Court had to answer a crucial question: should every affiliate be liable when just one company infringes a trademark? The outcome would ripple across corporate America, affecting how companies manage risk. The justice's decision would set a powerful new precedent for business liability nationwide. In a game-changing move for corporate America, the Supreme Court has handed down a unanimous 9-0 verdict in the Dewberry case, reshaping the way companies face legal responsibility. The justices made it crystal clear: just because companies are connected by ownership or business ties doesn't mean they can be forced to pay damages if they weren't actually named or sued in court. This sets a bold new standard for business lawsuits going forward. The court doubled down on a fundamental rule of American business law. Even closely linked corporations are treated as separate legal entities. In other words, each company stands alone in the eyes of the law, no matter how intertwined their operations or ownership may be. What does this mean in practice? Only the profits and assets of the company that's actually named in a lawsuit are up for grabs. Other related companies are protected unless they're specifically brought into the legal fight. This decision reinforces the corporate veil, a legal shield that keeps each company's assets and liabilities separate, even within a larger group. By upholding this barrier, the court is giving businesses more confidence to take risks, invest, and innovate. The justices based their decision on the Lanham Act, the federal law that governs trademarks and unfair competition. They made it clear: the Act's protections don't just cover trademarks, they also safeguard the way companies are structured. For business owners and executives, this ruling is a breath of fresh air. It means a lawsuit against one company in a group won't automatically threaten the entire network, making it easier to plan and operate with certainty. But the Supreme Court didn't close the door completely. The justices made it clear that this protection isn't absolute. If there's evidence of fraud or misconduct, courts can still pierce the corporate veil and hold related companies accountable. Justice Sonia Sotomayor highlighted that if a company tries to dodge responsibility by moving profits or assets to affiliates, courts have the power to investigate and go after those affiliates if necessary. Bottom line, the Supreme Court has drawn a clear, unmistakable line. Only the company actually sued is on the hook for damages, not every business in the corporate family. The debate over profits and liability in complex business groups isn't over, but the rules are now much clearer, giving companies and their legal teams a solid foundation for what comes next. So, what do these two unanimous Supreme Court rulings really mean for people across America? They send a clear message. When the government makes a mistake, it must make it right. And the law applies to everyone, even those in power. For Mr. Abrego Garcia's family, this decision brings both hope and a demand for justice. For the rest of us, it's a reminder that government authority has limits, and that we have the right to challenge mistakes. On the business front, the Dewberry case delivers much-needed clarity, ensuring companies know where they stand. This predictability fuels investment and inspires entrepreneurs to take bold steps, knowing the rules are clear. These 9-0 decisions highlight a Supreme Court focused on fairness and transparency. Justice isn't about politics, it's about upholding rights, honoring responsibilities, and demanding accountability. At the end of the day, the law stands above all. No exceptions, not even for the government.